Hello and welcome to another live session as part of our virtual open event. So in this live session, we're going to be talking about construction and in specific trowel trades. So that includes brickwork and plastering and built environment and construction. So I'm joined by a few people from the department who are here to give you some information. So we've got Keith, Jeffrey and Parish. So I'm just going to hand over to each of them to just introduce themselves, what they do, and give an overview of their area. So we'll start with you first, Keith.
Thank you, Alan. Good evening. My name is Keith Binz. I'm Programme Lead for bricklaying and plastering here at the college, but my main area of delivery is the bricklaying section. There's two sort of streams to the bricklaying section here at the college. We have the full-time route to education in bricklaying, and we have the apprenticeship route where we work in conjunction with local employers and our college training agency in order to service the needs of the industry. So those are the two streams, full-time or apprenticeship routes. In the apprenticeship routes, we go to what is now the level 2 standard, the bricklaying apprentice level 2 standard. And in the full-time, we have a level 1 route, which links with the construction skills, and a level 2 technical certificate in bricklaying, are the two options on offer in that area.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Keith. So next, we'll pop over to Jeffrey, who can give a bit of information about his area.
Hi there, my name's Jeffrey Roti. I'm from the plastering department here. I won't bore you again with all the other stuff because a lot of our qualifications run pretty much parallel with brick. We have obviously the full-time route and the apprenticeship route, and we can pretty much offer anything that as far as plastering is concerned. We cover all aspects of the trade in any of those areas. Okay, thank you.
Perfect, thanks for that. And finally, we'll just hand over to Parish.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name's Parish, and as Keith mentioned, I work in the apprenticeships team at Leicester College. So my role is to recruit construction apprentices, including bricklaying, plastering, for the college. That includes liaising with local employers, liaising with schools, with learners, with candidates across the board to ensure the college gets a high caliber of apprentice.
Perfect, cheers for that. So what we're going to be doing on this live is a Q&A session. So we've got some frequently asked questions that Keith, Jeffrey and Parish get asked quite a lot when we have open days that we're just going to go through about their subjects. If you do have any questions while we're streaming, feel free to pop them in the comments and we'll answer them as we go along. But the first question to kick us off is, what is the written to practical work balance like? So who would like to take this one?
I'll take that if you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Each trade area tends to follow its own route slightly, but in a general sense, these are practical trades. So we try to place a slightly greater emphasis on time in the workshops, on the kit, so to speak. But we do have to be conscious that going along with the practical skills, there is knowledge that individuals need, whether they're on a full-time course or whether they are apprentices, in order, one, to get them through their exams, and two, for them to be able to fulfill a career in the industry. So whilst we try to make it so the balance is weighted towards the practical skill set, I would say in the main, it is probably around about 70% practical to 30% underpinning knowledge here in college. But certainly with regards to technical certificates, those students doing a full-time technical certificate, they can expect, in addition to the theory time spent in college, they can expect possibly up to 3 hours study at home per week.
Bro, thank you for that, Keith. And does it work the same for your course, Jeffrey?
Yes, it's pretty much about the same. Yeah. I would say that's a good description. 70 to 30. And as we say, we are a practical trade, so we do try as much as possible to lean the bias towards the practical skills.
That makes sense, preparing you for the real world in that trade, I suppose.
That's the overall, that is the overall aim, really. Yeah, you're trying to prepare for life in the industry.
Sorry, Jeffrey, didn't mean to cut you off there. And Parish, does it work the same for an apprentice that would do it these subjects in apprenticeships?
Yeah, so if someone is doing an apprenticeship, they need to have at least 20% off the job. So that equates to basically 1 day a week in college learning, and then that's 20% of the time, and then 80% of the time in the workplace, where it really learning the practical skills, etc. And get to know the job. Yeah, so there's for an apprenticeship, there's an 80-20 split. So 80% with the employer, 20%, at least 20% off the job.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Parish.
Can I just add something add to that? As Parish has said, that with the 20% that they are off the job and therefore in college, very similar to with the full-time courses, the emphasis and the bias is very much put on development of the hands-on practical skills, and the theory input. It's possibly a little bit more, probably maybe 65% hands-on, 35 theory, because of course these apprentices get much more time on the kit within the workplace anyway.
Bro, thank you for that. So the next question we've got is, how many days a week will I be in college? Jeffrey, did you want to kick off with that?
I can do if you wish. Yeah. I mean, from the sort of plastering perspective, our sort of full-time students can expect to be in college approximately 3 days. There is some sort of variation to that. It depends on what their requirements are for the other subjects in terms of English and math. But in general, we would finish up around about 3 days. From the apprenticeship perspective, the ones that come to the plastering from an apprenticeship, so coming from a firm, they generally at this present moment in time only spend 1 day a week with us. Well, I know some courses do it in blocks.
Yeah,
brilliant. Does it work similar for you, Keith?
Yeah, pretty much. I think there's two things to sort of stress that potential learners need to understand. We don't deliver bricklaying or plastering courses anymore. What we deliver is a study program with a bias in particular trade areas. And so the amount of time a learner spends in college, as Jeff said, will depend on the individual learner. If we get a learner who comes on to bricklaying or plastering with the relevant GCSE grades, they are likely to be exempt from additional time doing maths and English. So they will do 2.5 to 3 days just covering the vocational skills, with some additional LEAP sessions and tutorials. If we get learners who only just meet the requirement as far as the qualifications, then they can expect, in addition to their 2.5 to 3 days in the vocational area, to do at least another day a week potentially, or classes across the remaining 2 days of the week doing maths and English at GCSE or at functional skills level. As far as apprentices, where in our plastering section they presently do a day release delivery, in bricklaying we work on a block release basis. So as Paris said, this 20% is off the job. When the apprentices are in college, they will stay us for 5 days a week over a number of weeks across each academic year.
Yeah, can I just add to that
as well?
Absolutely. We spoke about English and maths requirements. So if an apprentice needs to do their functional skills, again, we'll schedule in block week release for English and for maths. So it's not like the GCSE, they won't do it throughout the year. There'll be single blocks when they come in to complete their English and maths functional skills. But we'd give the employer plenty of notice that that's going to happen, give the learner plenty of notice so everyone's aware when it's going to happen.
Bro, that's good to know, actually. So the next question we've got is, do I have to buy any tools or equipment for the course? Keith, do you want to
relate to that? Yeah, happily. Again, it's a little bit of a slight difference in scenarios. with our level 1 learners who follow a construction skills course, they spend a little bit of time in brick, so many weeks in plastering, and so many weeks in decorating, and so many carpentry and joinery. Because of the range of skills that they cover, we do not expect them to buy a full toolkit. But they do have to provide some personal protective equipment and a couple of very basic items of kit. As far as our full-time learners, we do on a level 2 program, we do expect them to purchase and bring their own basic tools and equipment. So the very basics a bricklayer would need, or the very basics that a plasterer would need, we do expect them to bring that. We see that as a way of them showing a commitment to the course and a commitment to their chosen trade. So it usually equates to round about £100 worth of tools there or thereabouts. The apprentices, all apprentices will naturally in the workplace use their own kit. So we do require apprentices to come to college with their own tools and equipment, and that includes their own personal protective equipment as well: boots, harvest vests, gloves, art protection.
Bro, thanks for that, Keith. Does it work the same for you as well, Jeffrey?
Yes, it's pretty much the same for us. We expect our apprentices to bring their own basic kit. And as regards to full-time students, they have to buy their own kit, tools, and their own personal protective equipment. I think currently the group we have at the moment, so the group that's going through this year, I think they paid somewhere in the region of sort of £70 to £80.
Okay.
For their tools and their personal protective equipment.
And with the equipment, do you guys have like a recommended supplier so students sort of have an idea of where to get equipment from?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not. There's certainly nothing sort of compulsory. We don't sort of insist they go to that particular buyer, but we do have a supplier who will give them an agreed sort of selection of tools for a fixed price.
Okay.
But it's up to them that they can literally go wherever they choose.
Right. So they've got that aid there if they want it.
Yes.
So the next question we've got is, do I have to do any work experience? Who would like to go first?
For anybody on a study program, regardless of the trade that they are following, for anybody on a study program, work experience is a compulsory element, anything up to sort of 49 hours. In addition to that, in addition to the work experience aspect of the study program, for any learner who is on a technical certificate, there is a awarding body requirement for what they call industrial involvement or employer involvement. So over and above the work experience that a learner may have to do as part of their study program, we do have to arrange certain interactions between the learners and industry in order to satisfy City and Guilds, the awarding body, that they have had contact with the actual industry that they are looking to move into from a career point of view.
Brilliant. And I take it it's the same for yourself as well, Jeffrey.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Exactly the same. Yes.
Just to add to that, a lot of quite a few apprentices that we do get have actually got their apprenticeships through having done work experience with that employer, and they've proved themselves to the employer during their work experience, shown their qualities, being keen, motivated, all of those things, and they've got an apprenticeship off the back of it.
Oh, that's quite interesting, actually. That actually leads us on to our next question quite well. So what happens if I'm offered an apprenticeship midway through my course? Who would like to start on that one? Maybe you, Parish?
Yeah, I mean, there is a cut-off point for, so for example, if you start a full-time course, I believe we're approaching that point now. It's the first half term in the academic year, sorry. So after which point we can't really swap you over to an apprenticeship. It has to be done before then. There's various reasons why. Keith can probably explain those a bit more than I can, but yeah. So if you got an apprenticeship 6 months into your course, full-time course, you wouldn't really be able to swap over at that point.
Sorry,
Yeah,
my mic was still muted.
Yeah.
Did you want to elaborate on that, Keith?
Yeah, as Parish says, we obviously one of the best outcomes for us as a college is for our learners to gain employment, and so we encourage that, and we work with Parish and we work with employers to build relationships so students can make a natural progression from full-time study into the workplace. The reason that we will always try to work with any individual if somebody approaches and said they've been offered an apprenticeship. We can't actually stop anybody leaving a course and taking up an apprenticeship. What we do try to do, both for the benefit of the learner and for ourselves as a college, is to try and encourage the learner to stay on the course that they are on for that period of time, at that moment in time. Maybe undertake a prolonged period of work experience when not at college with their potential employer, so we can make a natural progression at sort of the end of the course, rather than have the disruption midway through a program of study and a course, which can be impacting a little bit on the apprentice, but it's certainly impacting on the college.
I suppose that way the student would actually leave with the end of that qualification as well, rather than having a mid-time with basically sort of just gaining experience from the college and not actually leaving with anything.
It is, and it all depends, from a point of view of progression. Then it's far better for that learner to have amassed whatever qualifications they can along that route and add to them, rather than stop one and change it for something else.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so the next question we've got is, can I go straight into a level 3 course on either of your core subjects? Jeff, did you want to take that one?
Yes, I can start off with it. I mean, at the end of the day, as it stands at this present moment in time, plastering doesn't offer any level 3 qualifications. So the best we could offer at any point is someone going straight into a level 2. We do have people that currently go straight into a level 2, and that depends on what their GCSE results are. But in terms of going on to a level 3 in the plastering course, it's something we currently wouldn't be able to offer.
Okay, not to worry, but it's good to know about the level 2. So a learner could go straight into a level 2 depending on their sort of.
We have quite a few learners that come straight into a level 2. Which, if I was to look at my current level 2 now, full-time students, there's probably about 6 or 7 of those that have come straight direct onto a level 2, on the basis of their prior sort of qualifications.
Okay, brilliant. How does it work for yourself, Keith?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I mean, the present day qualifications in construction are designed to be freestanding. You don't need to progress through the levels. That said, we're in a similar position to Jeff at the moment here at college, because over a number of years we've had a very, very low progression from level 2 through to level 3, and a very low number of individuals expressing interest in doing level 3. Unfortunately, at the moment, whilst we have the facilities to provide it and offer it, and the staffing and the resource, we don't presently offer in the prospectus a level 3 qualification. But in principle, there can be a direct route dependent on the individual's prior skill set, prior employment, and ability to take on at that level. One thing that Jeff's just mentioned there, even the level 2, can be a big ask. I mean, the college has a policy of allowing people direct onto level 2 if they've got the relevant GCSE grades. But what potential students have to realise is, it's one thing having level 2 qualifications academically, it's another thing doing something hands-on, and it is very, very tight time frame. People who do come direct entry, and most of mine are this year, with never having done any bricklaying experience before. We have about 27 college weeks to get them ready for their exam. We have about 30 college weeks to get them ready for their practical end test. And there's no resit for that end test. So they're either ready or they're not. and for anybody who's never picked up a trowel previously and got a little bit of prior experience under the belt, and it's exactly the same for plastering, Jeff, it is a big ask. Learners have to be prepared to really put in the time and the effort to be successful if they come in direct entry due to their GCSE grades.
I suppose that just speaks to the sort of amount of skill and technique that goes into each of these trades, and that.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I sort of equated it. Obviously, we've got Parish there from the apprenticeship team, and Jeff's level 2 plasterers and my level 2 bricklayers, presently on full-time courses, will have probably the equivalent of 30 college weeks to get to the same skill set and knowledge set that an apprentice has 30 months.
Yeah.
Combination of on the job and off the job. We have 30 weeks, and they're not even full weeks. It's 2.5 days, 3 days in the vocational area. It's a massive. It is a big challenge, and
it's intense.
Potential students have to be aware of that. Otherwise, they come in and all of a sudden they find themselves in a position where it's all just a bit too much.
Okay, brilliant. Parish, did you want to comment on the question at all, or do you feel like it's been covered?
I think most of it's been covered. There isn't a level 3 apprenticeship either now in brick with the new standards or plastering. So it would be the level 2 that they complete for both these areas.
Bro. So it brings us on to our final question. What exams do I have to sit to pass the course? Who'd like to take that?
You want me to take that, Jeff?
Yeah, you can do if you would.
So as far as the technical certificates, the level 2 full-time technical certificates, it's made up of successful completion is made up of a number of elements. As I mentioned previously, there is a City and Guilds requirement that every student has had a minimum amount of industrial experience or contact with industry. That's one element that has to be completed. There is then a 60-question, 2-hour-long exam, which, as I say, that exam, if I think about the bricklaying this year, that exam is scheduled for the 22nd of March. So we don't have a full academic year to get ready for that exam. The exam is on the 22nd of March. And learners on the qualification are allowed one resit with that exam. Should they fail the March one, they have a second chance in June. The final element that they do is what's called a synoptic assessment. This is made up of a number of components, but the main component in that is what is essentially a practical exam. This is a 10-hour timed exam where the learners get no assistance whatsoever. The college is visited by an external moderator while this particular assessment is taking place to make sure it's done fairly and correctly under the City and Guilds guidelines. And the learners have to pass this full time. If the learner was to fail the synoptic assessment, they would fail the qualification and there is no chance of a resit. So it's quite there's a number of phases to the full time. If we talk about apprentices, apprentices go through their period of training and they eventually go through what's called the gateway, which is the point where the learners are deemed to be competent and they go on to be assessed. The assessment is slightly different between trades, but essentially in most cases, the apprentice will have to do a 10-hour, I think it's a 10-hour, the apprentice practical test, similar to full-time students. They will have to do a 40-question knowledge paper. And the third element for the apprentices is what they call a professional interview. So they have about a 20-minute conversation with a moderator or an examiner. And all three elements have to be passed for the apprentice to pass their apprenticeship.
Bro, thanks for that, Keith. Very, very in depth, which is quite good because it really paints a picture of how the course would run and each step of the process. Jeffrey or Parish, did you want to add anything onto that?
No, I think Keith's covered the fact that now, whereas in the past you come to the end of your apprenticeship, there wasn't any exam or test as such for a lot of areas, but now with the endpoint assessments, it does change it completely. Yeah, so you are tested at the end to make sure you can do, you are going to be competent in that occupation. Yeah.
Bro. So that actually brings us to the end of the questions. Is there anything any of you would like to sort of just add on to tell our viewers about your subject, or if there's anything you feel like we've missed off that you'd just like to quickly shout out, feel free to.
I'd just like to say to anybody considering construction and a career, an apprenticeship in a course in it, it's a wonderfully rewarding career. It has its ups and downs, but it can be a wonderfully rewarding career. But to get to that point and to get to that career, what people do have to realise, it is a career that requires a lot of hard work. It's not an easy option career. The construction industry is a very rewarding but very arduous industry. One that we've all had participation in, which is why we do what we do, and we all sort of would promote it, from the rafters, so to speak. But I think for anybody considering a career and considering even coming on a course with a view to maybe taking up a career, the fundamental for me as a tutor is that it is hard work, and people have to be prepared if they come on any construction course, but especially plastering and bricklaying. It's dirty and it's a lot of hard work. But the rewards are there for those who put in the time, the effort, and who grow into the trade. It really is.
Yeah, I'd echo absolutely what Keith has said. I'd also say, obviously, we're going through a difficult time at the moment with everything that's going on, but moving forward, there's a lot of potential there. And next year, maybe we haven't had quite as many apprentices as we would have liked this year for obvious reasons, but I think next year there could be lots and lots of new opportunities as we move forward. So yeah, a great career to get into.
What a brilliant sentiment to end on. Hard work, but extremely rewarding, with lots of opportunities coming up. So that actually brings us to the end of this live. If you would like to find out more about trial trades and the specific courses that Keith and Jeffrey have talked about, you can head over to our website and find them on there, even if you just want to find out a bit more about them. But you can apply for them now as well still. If you want to find out about apprenticeships, we've got a dedicated apprenticeship page on our website, which will go into in depth with about how the process works and the current vacancies we have as well. But thank you for joining us. If you do have any questions, pop them in the comments and we will respond even once this live is done. But stay tuned for our, we've still got a few more lives tonight, and we've got a quiz and question time on our Instagram live story. So check that out later. But thank you all for joining us on this live stream and giving all that information. It was very informative. I think it's going to be very useful for anyone considering taking a course or an apprenticeship in construction. But yeah, that is goodbye from us. So thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you. Thank you.